All right, so this is what a 4-3-3 looks like. The 4 is because we have 4 defenders, three midfielders, and 3 forwards. Essentially, this is a very attacking formation. We'll be utilizing the players that we have in the final third as well as midfield to really press the ball and win the ball back while trying to cover our defenders as much as possible. But we'll also see in a second how they'll be joining the attack. All right, like I said, I'm going to break this into different sections, so you only have to watch yours, but if you want to, definitely watch the others. It'll be fun. All right, so defense. As you can see here, our defense is 4 across. We've got left and right back on the wings, as well as 2 center backs. One of the really important things about our center backs is that one will be dropping a little bit deeper. So there will be essentially what we call a sweeper sometimes, but I want this to be a little bit dynamic and I want them to talk as much as possible. Essentially, the most important place to have communication is within our back line, but also this defensive mid as well will be screening and making sure that they're helping out to be the best form of defense from midfield. As you can see, here's a big yellow arrow. What we want to work on and what we'll be working on in our early games is that right back coming up and becoming an attacking threat. And what that will look like, we'll get to in a second. But essentially, if it does work out and we do get into the good rhythm, we'll be essentially bringing up the left back as well. But we're going to start with just one. I'm going to start doing that essentially when we feel comfortable and when we're ready. I'll let you know as you go on and play right back whether or not I want you to be attacking. But in the final third, yeah, you're going to be that sort of outlet and that numerical advantage. So this will be one of the positions that will have quite high rotation because you'll be asked to do a lot of running up and down the flank. And in general, I want you to think of it as a sort of a 60-40 split. So 60 attacking, 40 defending, and making sure you're always coming back and helping these 3 out. So in defense, when we've essentially lost the ball and attacking players coming this way, this is kind of what will look like. You'll see that the right and left back tuck in quite a lot. That center back that's a bit more attacking will be looking to sort of sweep up the ball and make sure that they're pressing any defenders or any sort of attackers. This other center back will function as a sweeper and will make sure that any ball that comes through our lines will be picked up by them and then cleared either to the right or left or a big ball over the top. Nice. All right, so what does it look like when that right back is out of position because they've run up and become one of the attacking threats, which will happen. Essentially, what we do is we drop into a 3, and the right side center back, instead of being that really attacking, aggressive center back, comes out and marks the space a little bit more. The center back that is our sweeper will still act as a sweeper and be behind, but they'll kind of come into this 3 and be telling these 2 when and when not to attack and challenge for the ball. The left back, as you can see, is really tucked in here, relying on the left wing to cover here, looking for that right back to really get back, as well as our center mids to really drop and help that defensive mid to clean up this space and make sure they can't get that attacking threat through. All right, moving into midfield. So if you are a midfielder, there will be one of 3 roles that I'll have you playing. One of the big things about the 4-3-3, a lot of you will have seen like a 4-4-2 formation or something where you essentially have 4 players in midfield. And so you'll think, oh, we've actually got 1 less. But realistically, we're not looking at the flank. And I want you to think as a center mid or as one of our midfielders, you're really looking to occupy the space in the middle. There will be times when you press a ball out here and these 2 will come across, but very much we're looking to really dominate that center of the park. And a lot of the time when you see a 4-3-3, the midfield of the opposition will have 2 here and then 2 wide players, essentially 2 right or left mid or right wing, left wing. So we will always have a numerical advantage in the middle of the box or in the middle of the park, sorry. So really using that, making sure you're occupying that space and being available for a short pass means we can really play those rondos and those triangles around the opposition midfield and make sure the midfield is definitely our space, essentially. So what are those 3 roles that I was talking about? So the defensive midfield, they'll be very big on communication. They'll be telling these 2, hey, when they need to stop or when they need to come back and drop, essentially. When you're not hearing much communication or when you're hearing communication that just says go, press, attack, it means that these players will be running their little legs off. There will be high rotation in these positions as well. And because you'll be pressing the ball and aggressively trying to win the ball back here in midfield so we can break and counter the opposition. The other big role of this defensive midfield is cover. So you're making sure that in front of the defense. There's no balls coming through. There's no opposition playing in this space, in this pocket. But you're also covering for these two. This player gets pulled out of position and jumps in. A player comes here. You'll be pressing that or making sure that this player is back as well to make sure that we're in shape, because these two will get caught a little bit out of position, but you're covering them, and that's why we have that slightly pulled back midfielder. All right, the next one is, so these two will be quite similar, but essentially how to think of it, or if you sort of want to learn the numbers in football, this will be an 8 and this will be a 10. So the 8, or what I like to call the linker, will be very focused on that high press, winning the ball back. They'll be box to box, so they'll be doing a lot of running, getting into the box for the opposition and coming back and tracking to help defend. A big focus on short passes. So receiving the ball, who's your next option? Who's the quickest pass? Again, really utilizing the triangles that we'll have with a winger, with a right back, with a striker, with our centre mid partner, as well as a defensive mid. So these triangles are the most important part of this linkers play, but also being very mobile and moving and listening to that defensive midfielder. Yeah. All right. The next one is the creator. So essentially, this is our number 10. This is the player that, while doing all of those things that our number 8 or our linker does, they'll also be looking up to see who they can pass to in the forward position. So a winger or our striker, always trying to play it into the striker's feet and always being ready for the striker to play back into their feet. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit in attack. So make sure that if you're playing any of these roles, you also have a look at that section as well. But yeah, big focus on forward runs, getting into space, being part of the attack when we get there, as well as being always available. That is such a key part of any midfield, also any other player. So if you're not available, I will be sort of pulling you off and telling you how to get available or where the space is. But essentially looking around. The biggest thing I can say to any midfielder is just being aware. When you don't have the ball somewhere else, look around you. Where's the space? What are your opposite numbers doing? What are the defenders doing in that situation? If the ball were to come to you right then, and you had a quick look around, where would they be? And how can you sort of exploit that space without actually knowing that? Yeah, they're the 3 roles in midfield. All right, forwards. So this is essentially what we're going to look like when we're going forward. The forward players, left wing, striker, and right wing, very important, but essentially they will be being supported by this centre mid. This centre mid as well will also get involved. But when we do kind of move up into these spaces, I want these two to sort of still be sitting back. We can't commit everyone forward, and if these 5 are up front, that's more than enough to occupy their back line. And a lot of the time, we're going to need that sort of back pass. So these 2 midfielders really coming and anchoring. Because this midfielder will be running into space. Yeah, and that's it. So essentially, this right back might be making an underlapping, which is what that is, but they might also be making an overlapping. So essentially, they go outside and this right wing comes in. Yeah. And the most important thing about this is we're making that space and occupying what will be usually a back 4. Like I said, there's a huge focus on passing to the feet of the striker. I want the balls, and this is in sort of a transition or build up. So we definitely can, if they're right in the box waiting for a ball, put a ball a bit in front of them so they can hit it. But when we're sort of building up and we're a bit further back, I want all of these passes to be coming to their feet, essentially. Why is that? It's because realistically, a lot of opposition will be looking to make sure that when a striker gets their feet, they've got at least 1 centre back, pressing them, being really touch tight, maybe 2 centre backs get touch tight to make sure they can't turn and shoot. What we're going to be doing is essentially getting a ball away. So ball to feet, back to goal, comes out to our centre mid. And then if we can make a nice run here, that pass can come straight back. Or, as you can see with these sort of arrows, the white ones are kind of the passes, where the yellow one's the run. We make that, boom, boom. Ball goes out here. Our winger comes in, gets the ball. And then all of a sudden, this person's moved out. They don't have the cover of a defender because the defender's from here switched over, and then all of a sudden we've got a very easy ball across goal for our striker to jump onto and score some goals. That's kind of how I want that's the basic or the foundation of how I want the forwards to play. Also being dynamic, essentially the striking positions. I'm not going to have all of the plays overlaps that we're going to be doing. It's very much knowing the space, knowing your defenders. These 2 wingers are going to be very aggressively taking on defenders whenever possible. running at them, making their lives miserable, making sure that we're essentially learning as well from any time we do that, watching the defenders, seeing where they are. A lot of the time, I hear really good strikers will kind of, especially the striker with maybe two centre backs, you were looking at one, whoever doesn't like the ball, whoever doesn't want to make that tackle, and how can you exploit that and move into their space. But midfielders, as I said, the right back, are all going to be there supporting, making sure we're overloading, essentially. And what is the sort of the foundation or the fundamental of what we're doing by having these other players committed? We're essentially making sure we're occupying that entire space. Yeah, so we're making the pitch really big. What that does is mean that opposition numbers will have to also stretch, and we'll see a lot of space between certain lines. Yeah, if we're doing this, we're coming up close, and these guys are going here, they can easily just put 4 defenders here, and it's very hard to get through that. Whereas if we've made sure we're pulling them, making sure it's very hard for them, they have to commit a left back, a right back here. And so that means we have these little channels to go through, essentially make little runs, have a shot, make little runs, boom, boom. Yeah, that's kind of what we're doing when we're attacking. This is a big, important part of any attacking play, is making sure we're using that width. And we have the wing play with a winger and a right back, left back to always make sure we can exploit that. And the midfield that's condensed to make those runs in. This one as well, this centre mid as well will be running in, but this one, our number 10, our creator, will be very importantly making those runs, finding that space and being able to link. All right, what was that? I think that was like 12 minutes. So like I said, hopefully you can sort of look at your section and be pretty happy of what those positions are. We will be going into this a lot more in depth as we kind of get into the season, but this is essentially, some of the foundations and some of the tasks or roles that we will have within the 4-3-3. Cool.